Hello, everyone. I am really honored and excited to be joined here today by Missy Dabice of Mannequin Pussy. How are you today?
Hi, Leah. I'm really good. Thank you. Well, I'm also like feeling really chaotic because I'm leaving for a tour on Thursday and you can't see it right now, but my house is like, there's like stuff everywhere and I need to get it together.
Oh, good. What are you most excited about for this tour? I know you guys have three concurrent shows at Union Transfer with So Glow, so those will be really exciting.
I'm just so excited to finally be able to play new songs. And just experience what I don't know. I have no concept yet of what it's going to feel like to play these songs in front of people. Because we haven't done that yet. So I'm just hoping that the room will feel really excited and alive and yeah, I mean I don't really know what to expect, but I'm just so excited to get to tour this record and to be on a tour with Soul Glow, like a band that we love so much. So it's gonna be so great.
Yeah, I saw y'all do the free at noon at XPN because I was interning there at the time, so I was like helping you guys set up and everything. And that crowd really was like, especially for those shows that usually have an older crowd, like it was really a lively crowd, especially for noon on a Friday too. So if that's any indication, I'm sure the tour will be just as electric, if not better.
Oh yeah, I definitely expect much more moving than was at that show, but that's great to hear that the free at noon crowd was, having a good time. And thank you so much for your help during that show.
Yes, of course. In the past couple of weeks, I've been tabling a couple shows for my personal organization, and at both of those shows, coincidentally, two female-fronted bands covered "I Got Heaven," the title track of "I Got Heaven." How does it feel to become kind of a forefather of this new generation of Philly punk?
I mean, you can't see my smile right now, but my smile is huge. I think it's wonderful. I think it's like it's so beautiful to me. And it's always like, my hope with this is that as as we progress as a like as a society and as these like music scenes progress, knowing that people aren't looking so far to the past for inspiration, like stuck in that kind of like 1980s, 1990s scene, but that there's actually so much incredible music in the Philadelphia music scene that you could just look to a song like 10 years ago that would make you feel inspired to also want to create music yourself. I just think is so extraordinary. And I've seen a lot of videos of people covering Romantic and Kiss and Emotional High, but I haven't seen anyone cover anything from the new record yet. So that's particularly exciting. To know that that people are out there doing that. That makes me really happy.
Yeah, I can always tell that they're really excited to scream the Jesus ate my fucking snatch line specifically. Is that
I'm so excited to because at the free at noon, like I wasn't allowed to say that line because it was um on the radio. And like I was being good. I was like, okay, I'll play by your rules, WXBN. But I haven't yet really gotten to like say that in one of our concerts in a room full of people. So I'm really excited to feel the energy in the room when it's time for that line.
Oh yeah, it'll be so fun. What are things about the Philly scene specifically that you think are not replicated anywhere else?
Well, I mean, I think what I was like so drawn to, like I first moved here like 11 years ago, and I was so in love with the music scene here. It was just so like vibrant and alive, and there were so many different bands, and everyone was making music, and everyone was making art, and it was so creatively inspiring to just be in a place where you were genuinely inspired by the people around you and not I can't speak for everyone, but my experience was never that of feeling like in other cities, people were a bit social climbering about music and scenes and things like that, where it felt as though they made music because they wanted to be seen making music, if that makes sense. And in Philly, it felt like this really just genuine need and desire to like all the artists I knew just genuinely needed a place to put their emotions and to express themselves. And it was just so exciting to, like our DIY culture was so vibrant like 10 years ago with all the different house venues and everybody hits and like these art galleries that people would play at. And it was just so exciting to feel like there were all these alternative spaces that were inviting in bands that, you know, couldn't sell more than 5 tickets, but like everyone was like getting together to experience just the catharsis of making and sharing music. And for a good long while, Philadelphia was a very affordable place to live as well. So it made sense that there were a lot of people here that just kind of gravitated towards um, just music at the forefront of their lives.
Absolutely. I think that's still very prevalent right now, and I was very scared that that would not be the case in like a post-pandemic world, but it absolutely is. And there's just so many people that are so um enthusiastic for like anything and everything to be able to just get involved and it is very accessible, and that's what I've really come to love about it. Because I think there's just a really like undying like community that just want like everyone in theory wants to see each other succeed.
Oh, that's beautiful. I'm so happy that it's like still is that way.
Yes, of course. Like especially with like 4333 becoming a lot more prevalent too. I think that's helped a lot because it's gotten, very small bands to be able to play Yuki Club, which is, a room that could fit probably up to like 600, 700 people, I think.
Mhm.
But pivoting to the uh album specifically, I wanted to ask about the animal imagery and the comparisons. And I know a lot of this album deals with feelings of lust. I wanted to ask how those two things are kind of intertwined on the lyricism of this album.
Well, I think in a in like a historical context, I think that human beings and women are really treated as livestock, or it's treated as these just means to someone else's capitalist gain, or a means to procreate, and like you're nothing without your womb type style of like the I would say like the people in power, the way that they see working class people are just as like these cogs in their ultimate machine. And I was just kind of thinking about that as as like, especially as like a woman who has not had any children, and like how a lot of people really look down on some of those decisions that are being made. And so like yeah, on the one hand, these references to like human beings as being treated as though they're livestock and not human beings, but also as human beings, as the animals that we are. And then in the just the inherent nature that exists, the relationships between humans and animals as this like grossly unjust and violent relationship that exists. I think specifically between human and pig and human and cow and all these different kind of animals that unless it's something that we domesticate and see as, something that's cute and could live in your house with you, we see no use for these animals to give them any respect or devotion beyond their role as being part of the food chain. And I'm not a vegan. I'm a conscious carnivore. I think that everything we do, it should be in the advent of conscious consumerism. But I don't know, I just kept coming back to the images of animals, and I feel like an animal a lot of the times myself. Like I just react to things sometimes in this animalistic way, and I've had to like really learn how to temper my own temper those reactions to be more almost like civilized. But then you also kind of break down like, okay, well, what does it mean to be civilized? Like where do those ideas come from? And eventually you just kind of like spin out of control because you're thinking very heavily about everything around you.
Yeah, what do you do specifically that you would consider conscious consumerism?
I how I buy things, from where I buy things, and how we spend our dollars. I think that in a capitalist society, like we don't have a democracy really. We have like a oligarchy basically, and or what is it called, the plutocracy. um and we don't really actually have a lot of we don't have any power, and so the illusion of choice on a ballot box is the way that we are told that we can exercise our power. But in a capitalist country where streams of revenue are all going to these like top, like 1% corporations, how you choose to spend your money every day is actually a very powerful form of voting. So having some sort of sense and awareness of where you are buying your food from and who you are buying your food from and where you are buying your food, or what kind of clothing you decide to buy, or how you buy, it's like all these choices that we make that ultimately those dollars feed some sort of a machine. And so if I can kind of control that for myself in some ways, it's not to say you can be completely ethical with all of your choices, but
Mhm.
some choices that you can make that, perhaps help to put money in the hands of people who deserve it far more than, like BlackRock, who owns everything.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like marketing schemes that try to like prey on that kind of philosophy too, because like they can, cry, companies can cry independent all they want, and then they still end up being owned by like the same five, six corporations that own everything.
Exactly. Have you seen the guy on TikTok who like goes into the grocery store or into the pharmacy and like takes a picture, and then he meticulously goes into every single option?
Yes, I have seen that.
Yeah. I love that guy. He is doing his work. I hope he stays safe. Um, but like, yeah, I mean, again, like that illusion of choice that we have, the illusion of like freedom and options and all this thing, when like really, you know, again, it's like not that many companies that just own everything.
Right, I showed one of my friends the like giant uh it's like a chart of everything that Disney owns like in sectors, and like it was just a lot of like Disney owns ESPN, Disney owns the History Channel, like yeah, they own half the entertainment industry.
Ah.
They also made the graphic in the shape of a mouse too, which I thought was funny. But back to the music and everything. You said in an interview that sex scenes in movies also influenced a lot of this album. How like what parts of the album were is that most present?
Well, there was just like two movies in particular that just really portrayed lust and desire in these really beautiful ways to me, that I'm really inspired when we see sex. I mean, sex is this, kind of like animalistic, pleasurable experience, but again, like sex, like so many other things, it has this very unfortunate opportunity to be used as like a violent weapon, or to cause people to have really damaging experiences with it if it's not like in the correct ethical hands. When on the flip side of that is also there's an opportunity to feel like you can explore yourself and explore what closeness and desire feels like with another person. And the movie in particular that really inspired me was Gus Van Sant's My Own Private Idaho, where all the sex scenes in that film have no movement to them. They're arranged as paintings. So like each like moment, like whether it's like a thrust or a position, or like there's also like a threesome in the movie, everyone is arranged as though they're like part of a Renaissance painting. And you know, you can see them like kind of like slightly moving because it's not like a freeze frame. It's like the actors are posed and Gus Van Sant just shot it as though it was a painting. And it you know, it reminded me of just kind of the beauty that is when you know bodies join together, when like when you're that close to someone, that it can be this really kind of monumentally beautiful act that is almost akin to a beautiful painting or a beautiful piece of art. But you know, yeah, again, on the flip side, like that's not always the experience of it. Um,
Right.
and is very often kind of like the fantasy of it that's presented. Like it takes a lot of devotional practice and a shared sense of respect by, you know, whoever is involved in the act to like want to make it a beautiful and pleasurable experience instead of just a I got mine experience.
Very interesting. Yeah. Um, kind of in a similar vein, how did you like try to combat balancing the heavier and lighter tracks on this album?
I mean, I think when you're writing a record, it's really is this kind of strange sort of like you are like, why do words come to us, you know? Why, how are we able to form sentences? It's something I legitimately ask myself sometimes, where I'm like, why does my brain work the way that it does? Why do certain words come to me that then I'm able to like bring out through my mouth and make sound with? Like, I never really understand where these words are coming from, and it almost feels like like a divine experience where you're being visited by some sort of kind of like spiritual guide who's like, this is what you're going to say, you know? Like I can't I there's it's like you're searching for a way to say something, and then all of a sudden it just comes to you and it comes out. And I think what's so fun about making music, and especially in the dynamic of which that Mannequin Pussy exists and the way that we all collaborate with each other, is that like every now and then we are trying to make the most brutal feeling piece of instrumental we can possibly make, that's like really pushing ourselves, that something that like actually hurts to play, hurts to sing, hurts to like excavate in that way. And then other times we're just trying to write a fucking bop, you know.
Mhm.
Other times we're just trying to make like just a pop song that just feels good, you know? And like ultimately it's in the spirit of what feels good to us. And I think the things that hurt also sometimes feel good. And or the things that hurt and are painful are things that also need to be expressed and said. Like we don't just want to hide under like a shiny coat of lies, you know, but like we're also trying to have fun.
When you're playing those songs that hurt to play or to sing, how do you recoup from those performances to have to go and play another show the next day?
Oh my God, Leah, I am so boring on tour. I can't even tell you. I have quit doing everything that was once fun to me so that I can just preserve my body and my mind, so that I can kind of get to that level of energy that's required to put on a show. You know, I see like it is the biggest privilege in the world that anyone wants to come see your band play. And so like you really need to go into the headspace of every single show that like you want to deliver to the audience the best that you can possibly do, the best that you can possibly perform. And there are days on tour where it's really hard and you don't really, like want to be seen and your energy is really depleted and your battery's at zero, but like you have to find ways that kind of like fill yourself back up. Um, and I think all of us in the band have gotten really good at figuring out what those personal things are for us that kind of fill back up our cups. Um, but yeah, you have to be very specific with the way that you use your body every day, the way that you use your voice. Like, you know, I've had to like quit drinking, quit smoking. I exercise. I don't really talk a lot during the day to preserve my voice. It's all, again, it's really boring stuff,
Hmm.
but it helps your mind settle to a place where you can feel your energy rising back up again that allows you then to perform. But also now we have more power than we've had in past years. And we can tell our booking agent, like, don't book more than 3 or 4 shows in a row. Like there was a time and place where we would play like 9 shows in a row, 12 shows in a row, and it was just brutal on us. And that's not financially sometimes, especially like when you're starting out, you kind of have to do that. Because once you get to a certain level, being on tour costs thousands of dollars a day. So it's like, but you have to fight for that space that you need for yourself to take care of yourself so that then you can give an audience like the experience that they really deserve.
Hmm. Yeah, I see a lot of people like when someone's tech or not tech writer, their hospitality writer leaves, they're like, how, like, why do you need all of this? But it's like, I feel like they just don't consider how like physically draining it is to be on tour, physically and mentally.
Yeah, it's also hard to go find good food on tour. It's hard to like go. Sometimes you play a venue where there's like nothing around.
Hmm.
And like you need sustenance in order to have energy. So there's a reason why that stuff is on there.
Right. Um, Pivoting back to the music, this is a question that I was very excited to ask. What is the difference between a pork puller and a hog cranker?
Honestly, you just kind of know it when you hear it.
Okay.
There's certain songs where like now, like under the context of that, like listen to like you listen to like any song from like a rock song from the 60s. Some of them are real pork pullers, some of them are hog crankers. I would say an example on our record, I think like Okay Okay is definitely a hog cranker,
Okay.
and like Split Me Open would be like a pork puller.
Okay. That makes sense. I was listening to Split Me Open earlier today. That does now I do see it now. And my last question, just to top things off, what have you been listening to or what are you planning on listening to as you set out for tour?
Like what's on my playlist right now? I've actually have been amassing a little playlist for I decided recently I love making playlists. I was like, I should just kind of make one for every month this year, especially since I'll be touring a lot. I've been listening to I've been going to the gym a lot to get ready and to feel healthy. I've been listening to The Armed a lot at the gym.
Hmm.
And I've also been listening to, I have a very chaotic shared playlist with a friend, which is Radiohead versus Coldplay. And every other, it's like Radiohead song, Coldplay song, Radiohead song, Coldplay song. I've been revisiting that one a lot. There's so many bangers. It would horrify Tom York to hear that like Coldplay and Radiohead actually share. There's some common threads there, okay? Like English people need to like get over themselves. Like, come on, dude, you're not that different. Um,
Same.
it's all the fucking same. I mean, it's not, and they're not, but whatever. Uh, what else have I been listening to? I'm still so obsessed with that slow pulp record. Uh,
Yard.
my friend Rachel Gagliardi in the band Pouty just put out like an amazing new record, which is so much fun to listen to, like very grunge pop. Um, yeah, I've been listening to a lot of stuff lately, actually.
What's your favorite Radiohead song?
My favorite Radiohead song is there's
I feel
so
like it's very like telling of a person's like ethos when they say
um
what their Radiohead song is.
I'm very kind of split between I- like Everything in Its Right Place on Kid A is maybe the first Radiohead song I ever heard, and so that one is just really special to me and I just love it so much. But House of Cards on In Rainbows is one of my favorite Radiohead songs just because it's so phenomenally beautiful. Um, yeah. Also, like the numbers from A Moon-Shaped Pool is so good. Yeah, there's just so many incredible Radiohead songs. They really are like one of my favorite bands, and I don't know what to do about that, you know. I think that makes me kind of like, is that like makes me a red flag fuck boy? I don't care. It's fine.
I I I think they've been bastardized a little bit by the internet over the past.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
like,
honestly, like I don't, it's funny to me that you say that because I've also wondered that because I've seen the internet kind of like conflate Radiohead into this like red flag fuckboy thing, but I'm like, all the dudes I knew who were listening to Radiohead were like a strong gust of wind could knock them over. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There's not like there's not a lot of like serious male bravado or machismo to him. It's just like intricate, weird music for weirdos. Or like for emotional weirdos too. Like, I mean, House of Cards or just In Rainbows in general is just one of the most beautiful records I've ever heard. It's just a perfect album and you know.
yeah. Every like couple months or so, like I like will listen to Weird Fishes and be like, this is just the greatest piece of music ever written.
Exactly. It's just like the arpeggiation on that is just it's so phenomenal. Like I don't I don't know how they do it and I still have not seen them live, but I'm really hoping that they do.
I don't know if that's ever gonna happen again, honestly. I
Like
f
what? Do you think they're too busy with a smile?
or maybe they're just like they're just kind of done. I don't like. I mean, yes, like also like pivoting to the smile, but
That's how I feel actually. I have a deep regret because I had an opportunity sort of that I could have gone to see Rage Against the Machine um in 2023, but I was not able to make it happen and then they announced that they're never going to tour again. I was like, "Oh my God." Because Rage Against the Machine is also like one of my favorite bands. So, um you gotta take your opportunities while you got them.
for sure. But yeah, thank you so much for hopping on this call. I know you guys are very busy with like press and everything before tour, so I really appreciate you taking the time out.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for inviting me to chat and for asking such thoughtful questions. Yeah, I'm gonna keep packing for tour and then go to rehearsal and just get closer to the rest of this year starting.
It's very exciting stuff. Okay. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Leah.
Bye.